Thank you for browsing page 121. Today we're going to take a look at a book from Mongoose from about 2020, the first of the Aliens of Charted Space books. This one features the Aslan, the Vargr, the Kukri, and the Zhodani. Pretty exciting, actually. I was pretty excited when I got my hands on this book, and then I kind of put it on the back burner. I didn't get a chance to read it through until basically now. I kind of didn't read it / kind of forgot about it. But I've read it through, and I like what I read. I'm one of the old school guys that has all the old stuff from the 80s and even the 90s, and why did I need to see these 4 races again? And the answer is they're updated and it's better. It's a pretty book, really nice artwork. Deck planes, they're isometric deck planes because that's what Mongoose was doing at the time, but it's still okay. And I liked it, and we're going to thumb through it today on page 121. Also, I just want to say real quick, please subscribe, keep the channel growing. It's growing nicely. I've just topped 3,000 subscribers. I'd like to keep that growing. And also, please take a look at Patreon, see if there's anything you can do there. I'm trying to get a little bit of better software, and I need a little help to afford that. So that's it. That's the end of the begging. On to the important stuff today. Aliens of Charted Space, Book 1 from Mongoose from 2020. Today on page 121. From Mongoose Traveler's 2nd edition, Aliens of Charted Space, Volume 1. This fine book features 4 of the major races, Aslan, Kukri, Vargr, and Zhodani. So really, it's kind of a must-have for those races. It's written by the fine author Martin J. Doherty, and was out in 2020. It gives us an introduction, a little bit about the races that we'll be taking a look at, some very fine artwork. And the first one we deal with is the Aslan. The Aslan are the big kitty cat guy, the ones that like the Kazin from the Larry Niven novels. And I know there's plenty of other science fiction analogs, but I knew Larry Niven before I knew Travelers. So for me, they were Kazin. But it gives us the physiology of the Aslan. They are hunter carnivores. They are predators. Environmental changes came upon their home planet of Kyushu and forced them to, instead of being solitary predators, forced them to work together in groups, and also forced intelligence as a survival trait. So we go on to here, and these guys, as a quick thumbnail, basically they're you think Klingons. They're very easily offended. Honor is everything to them. It's the closest analog I can come up with right off the top of my head is Klingons. I'm sure, again, there's plenty of other analogs, but dueling is a thing with them. You have to be careful how you talk to them, even if you're not an Aslan, because some duels are to first blood, some can be to death. And then creating Aslan worlds. The military pretty much is the important one. The leaders of the various clans command everything. We've got lots of nasty critters, and these get exported to settled Aslan worlds to provide some of the experience you'd get if you lived in primal Kyushu. So the idea of being able to hunt these things, this guy in particular is recommended to be hunted with a rocket launcher. He's a big boy, 64 hits. It was kind of neat. I liked reading through the animals that they purposely bring out there. And then we got a section on Aslan Travelers. And the Aslan here, this would be if you wanted to play an Aslan, and if you wanted to be from the Aslan Hayret or somewhere else. So here's your starting age, your names, your titles, and then what you are as an Aslan player depends on what you go into, what career you go into. So here you could be ceremonial, which would be an Aslan who presides over various ceremonies of rites of passage and things like that. You could be an envoy to another race. Management, this is usually female. Male Aslan do not dirty themselves with money, nor do they really understand it. The females are the ones that do the managing. They also do a lot of the non-command functions aboard starships. The military, most Aslan are going to have at least some touch of military. A military officer. Military officers are very elite in the Aslan hierarchy. They don't mix with the lower orders of the military. A scientist, primarily a female occupation again, but very important. A spacer, just a generic spacer. Again, depending on what you're doing, it could be a male or female role. The male roles are generally with status and acquiring land and military things, and then the female roles are generally the scientific, the household keeping, the money management stuff. That's generally where the females are relegated. Some females do extremely well, and the husbands do extremely well because the females know how to shut up or because the females know how to process the money, and the male knows how to shut up and let her do her stuff. Then we get a space officer, an outcast, an outlaw. This is someone who's been thrown out or has left Aslan society. Wanderer. So you get 11 different choices of careers for Aslan. That's pretty good. For the first time, I actually toyed with the idea of maybe doing a campaign where everybody played what to humans would be an alien race. In this case, the Aslan. I was kind of looking at this going, that'd be kind of neat. Mustering out benefits explained, the Aslan life events, and then we get a central supply catalog for Aslan. There you go. Aslan battle dress, owl leather, assassin's garb. I like that one a lot. Ceremonial breastplate, ceremonial armor, combat flex. I enjoyed that too. And of course, combat armor. Who doesn't love combat armor? And heavy combat armor, because why not? A vac suit, a combat vac suit, heavy vac suit, claw port. We got a command suite, ornamentation for your stuff. We get tail armor, and then we get communications and computing. We get some robots. All very neat. Medical supplies, personal augmentations. You can have a claw put in that would duplicate the Aslan dew claw, because that's used in some of the honor rituals and some duels. You get the claw implant into your wrist if you're a human and you live amongst Aslan. And then there are weapons of honor, which is the assassin's blade, the crescent blade, the farah, the monkey knife, which looks like a lot like a karambit. If anybody's a fan of Forged in Fire, Doug Markaitis, one of his favorite weapons is the karambit, and that sure looks like a karambit to me. I'm not a blade guy, I just like the show. Weapons of the hunt, the vehicle that they use, a gravity spear. I like to hunt with a plasma streamer or a heavy machine gun. And then we get down to vehicles of the Aslan. Claw bike, Aslan assault grav tank, a grav barge. Looks a lot like Jabba's. And then we get some high guard, some Aslan ships. So a Hooray class scout, a Hot Taisho class scout. I'm not going to try many of these Aslan names. Irkow class trader. And there's some of the artwork populating a little late on my tablet. Fine deck plans. I prefer the top downs, but this is what they were doing in 2020 for Mongoose, so I have no issue with it. And as I said at the top, I have 3 or 4 different iterations of Aslan, particularly, of all the races presented in this book. And the question becomes, why bother? Why did I bother buying this book? Well, there's 2 answers to that. One is I was an old curmudgeon who said, no, I don't need the new stuff. I have the old stuff. I read some of the reimagined new stuff and realized that I was behind the times. And I decided to get updated. And the second was I got this as part of a bundle of holding about a year ago with a bunch of other adventures and other things. So this was a heck of a deal for me. In fact, that's kind of why I forgot about this guy, is because it was part of that bundle and I was reading other elements of it. And then another bundle I got, and I ended up kind of forgetting about this guy until I was looking for a topic for a video. And I went, well, let's read this. And this is a very fun read. Aslan get the lion's share, pun intended, of the book. I have had Aslan played at my table by players. I have used them as NPCs. Aslan are very interesting, and played right are very fun. If you were raised outside of an Aslan clan from the actual Aslan Hierate, and you were raised, say, in the Imperium amongst a family clan, you are not as honor bound as some other Aslan are as far as male and female roles and how easily offended you are and things like that. So Aslan can be very cosmopolitan if they were born and raised outside of the Hayret. And that can be a lot of fun for you as a player. They're big, nasty, strong guys. They're fun to play. Okay. Again, just waiting for the artwork to update. My tablet is struggling a little bit. It always does. Now we go to the Kukri. The Kukri are interesting. They're a great dichotomy. They are herbivores, but they are militant herbivores and the single greatest threat to humanity in known space. The Kukri don't like things that eat meat, period, because in their early prehistory, they were hunted for their meat. They wiped out the primary predator on their planet and then conquered a lot of other things. And anybody or anyone that they conquer or works with them cannot eat meat. So if you're going to Kukri space to be a trader, get the meat smell off your breath. That can take a couple of weeks. The Kukri are very sensitive to it. You want to be very careful not to have a meat smell on you. It kind of enrages them. They're also herd animals by nature. They are six-limbed. We think of them as horses or centaurs. And they are very herd-oriented to the point that they build their starships to look like open plains, and they have to have many Kukri around in order to feel comfortable. And as I said, I love the artwork. That is such a cool picture. As I said, if you're dealing with the 2,000 worlds, you better not be snacking on that hamburger because they're going to smell it and they're going to get upset about it. These things are huge and pretty militant. And then we go into their military and ground combat tactics, space forces, more great artwork. Their naval organization, they're very powerful. And of course, the Lords of Thunder. One of these days, I'll just feature a video of the Lords of Thunder, specifically that excellent 100+ page adventure from the is it the Mega Traveler Digest? Or I think it was number 4 by the Keith brothers. That guy was outstanding. It's one of my favorite traveler adventures. The 2,000 Worlds Today. There's the Lords of Thunder. Lords of Thunder are basically a militant branch of Kukri that feel that all meat eaters in the galaxy need to be stomped out, literally. And then we get Kukri travelers. Now, these I've never really used Kukri. I've had 1 or 2 groups of Kukri as NPCs, but it's been very rare. They're usually over by the Gateway sector. Not something real common at my table, and I've never had a player play a Kukri. And unsurprisingly, this section's shorter, much shorter than the Aslan. So here we have you can be just a Kukri for your career. You can be a servant, a merchant. They have lots of merchants. A noble, and that's it. Those are your Kukri classes. There you go. Those are your Kukri career paths. And then we get the life events and benefits, and everything is the family. And then we get their central supply catalog, Kukri panoply. So you look pretty when you're going there. A vac suit, combat armor, battle dress, traditional weaponry, personal weapons, all kinds of good stuff. Lots of nice weapons and other things to use. And I'm definitely going to steal some of the ideas brought out here and apply them to non-Kukri. And then we have the vehicles, personal grav skimmer, wide open as you see. That's their shtick. And then family transport vehicle. Their deck plans are very easy. They favor an oval layout or a circular layout. And I'll go to the High Guard now, and we'll take a look at a couple of their starships. A bearer of cargo's shuttle. And that is just literally a cargo shuttle. And there's your deck plan, wide open. They keep most of the stuff on the periphery, and they keep it wide open. The Kukri like to see each other, smell each other, be in each other's presence, even aboard ship, especially aboard ship. Bearer of Family's orbital shuttle, same basic layout. Trader of the outer steppe merchant. And again, the big circular open spaces, that's what they favor. Quickening Thunder robotic fighter. They like robots. They like fighting robots a lot. Kukri in Traveler. They can be tricky to play. They can be tricky to introduce to your group. So be ready. Read up on your Kukri. Vargir, uplifted Terran canines. Sometimes wolves, sometimes dogs, depending on the edition and the author. But they are from canine stock. They were uplifted by the ancients and disseminated around known space. There are very many, and they're mostly thought of in the Imperium as nothing but raiders and pirates. But of course, they're not. The seeming chaos of the Vargir way of life has to do with the fact that they follow the charismatic leader more than in an individual group because of the pack mentality. Not only are they always looking to be part of a pack, they're always jockeying for position within the pack. And then the higher up in the pack you are, the better. But the higher up they are, the quicker they can sometimes fall, depending on your loss of charisma. If you're a pirate leader, for instance, and you've got several Vargir following you, and you have a very bad raid, what would be a minor setback for another race can be catastrophic for the leadership of the creatures of the raid. Lots of infighting in that regard. Not always to the death, but sometimes. And they have a military. They have Corsair bands. It's not viewed as something horrible to be a Vargir Corsair. It's just kind of a way of life. And then, of course, how you want to play Vargir Travelers. Vargir are pretty common. Most of my games over the years have taken place somewhere near the Spinward Marches, except for when I was doing New Era, and that was down around the Salamani Sphere and in that area. But Vargir are common in my game. I've had players play Vargir. I've had many NPC Vargir. So here we have, you could be in the Vargir army, you can be a citizen, a Corsair, which is an interesting career path, an emissary, law enforcement, which is kind of fun, a loner, a lone wolf, literally, and a Vargir marine, a merchant in the Vargir navy, Vargir Scion, which was kind of neat. I've encountered psionics with Vargir before, but I kind of was surprised to see this here as an actual career path you can pursue. And I'm pretty interested in this. Vargir Scientist, and so we have 11 different career paths for the Vargir, and then, of course, life events and such, and the Essential Supply Catalog, which is kind of neat too. I like some of the Vargir stuff. I'm going to be introducing this to the Vargir in my campaign. Right now, I've got a very human-centric campaign going. It's the one where everybody's pirates. I've been having a hard time getting the whole group together because of life. Everybody that's in that campaign, I want them all to play at once, which is all my players except my wife, who doesn't really play Traveler. And I've been having a hard time getting everyone at the table at the same time because of various schedules. I'm hoping in the next week or two to be able to actually accomplish that. Be nice to play the little Traveler again. It's been a while. So very Vargir, vac suit, combat armor, battle dress, just some neat stuff. Little Vargir robot, some weapons. I really like the Vargir. Vehicles of the Vargir. And you don't have to play Vargir as these rampaging pirate type guys. You can encounter a group that are a bunch of merchants, or some that were raised in the Imperium or just on the fringe of the Imperium, but not as part of a Vargir pack proper. And they play fairly well. Vargir are one of the more easily played alien races. And we have the High Guard. I like the Acom Heavy Fighter. I thought this was very cool. The Scout. Gotta love a good Scout Traveler. It's kind of a thing you have to like. A Trader, a Courier, and so on. The Body Seeker. Lots of Vargir ships, because let's face it, it's likely to encounter some Vargir ships. Even a yacht for that pack leader of the moment. A Corsair, of course, because that's probably what most players think of when they think of the Vargir. A packet, a corvette, lots of ships. And now we get to the Zhodani, the Zos, or Zhodani, Joes. Depends on how you pronounce it. We've always said Zhodani long before I encountered the Zhodani pronunciation. We said zodani, so that's what it is for us. The psionic guys, these are humans who were transplanted from Terra, put on Zant, their homeworld, and developed the powers of the mind. And they've based their whole society on the powers of the mind and being able to use the powers of the mind to, quote, fix, unquote, antisocial tendencies in their people. Very rigid society, very feared by the Imperium, of course, which does not care for psionics, having been outlawed for the last 300 plus years. And these are the titular bad guys, always lurking, waiting to pounce and ruin the Imperium. The Imperium has fought 4 separate frontier wars involving the Zhodani. And don't tell anyone, but there's a 5th on the way. Anybody familiar with Traveler canon knows that the 5th Frontier War is coming. Also, Mongoose had said late last year that it was coming this year, but apparently got pushed back a little bit. I'm excited. I can't wait. I love the 5th Frontier War. That was going on and just wrapping up when I started with Traveler. So a lot of the stuff on the shelves still had to deal with that. A lot of the issues I had of General Traveler's Aid Society, we're still dealing with the 5th Frontier War. Very exciting time. I'm excited to relive that. Nice artwork. I always like the simple cut to the Zhodani armor. Security and intelligence. It's a very repressive society to live in by Imperial standards. And here we have Zhodani travelers. You are not always a psionic when you're a Zhodani traveler, but you can very likely be. You can be an agent. You can be in the army. You can be an entertainer, which is kind of a neat idea. I like that one. You can be in the government, maintaining the order of things. You can be in the Zhodani Guard. You can be a Zhodani merchant. You can be in the Navy. Zhodani are notorious for their teleport troops, guys that are in full combat armor that can teleport from one ship to the other, thus invading your ship while they're still in full combat armor. A prole, that's just an ordinary person living under Zhodani rule, not usually psionic. A scholar, and then your life events, your mustering out, and then Zhodani psionics. These are pretty neat. A few of these I've encountered before, but some I didn't really recognize from earlier stuff. So I was really excited to read these, and I'm going to hit this section again because I love psionics and Traveler. I always have. I don't want a Star Wars space wizard wandering around, but I kind of like the idea of psionics in science fiction. It's always kind of fit to me. So Zhodani, their supply catalog, the Zhodani armor I was just talking about, medical supplies, robots. Zhodani favor robots also, warbots. I always love a good warbot. And vehicles of the Zhodani, because if you're in the Spinward Marches, there's a good chance you're going to be encountering some of these vehicles. So you may as well know about them. A G-Carrier, a Unity Grav armored fighting vehicle, a scout sled, the Princely Lord Attack Speeder. I love that name. And a Grav tank. And now we go to the High Guard of the Zhodani, the military starships. Let's face it, if you're playing the Spinward Marches, you've encountered one of these. I've done many stories based on encountering a Zhodani ship, or more importantly, meeting a Zhodani ship. I've done a couple where you were part of an embassy that was going to bargain with the Zhodani over some matter on part of the Third Imperium. Zedeber class trader. I'm not going to try a lot of these names. If you followed my channel for a while, you know I struggle with some of these names. But there you have it. That ends the book at a whopping 305 pages. I love these alien guides that Mongoose has put out. I think these are quality books. And as I said, I was one of the old chauvinists who used to say, I don't need to buy what Mongoose is putting out now. Why, I have that stuff. And I have to also say, Mongoose First didn't really do much to really whet my appetite to pick up their products. I have many Mongoose First Edition books, but the black and white presentation and even the writing and the way the tables were set up really didn't do anything. It just felt like a lesser version of Original Traveler to me. So I really wasn't excited. And then I got into Traveler's Second Edition, which is much cleaner, much more professional looking, color, gorgeous. These are beautiful books. So yeah, I'm very happy I got past that little bit of bigotry on my part against the newer stuff, and I'm very happy to be reading some of the excellent stuff Mongoose is putting out. No, I don't work for Mongoose. I just like their products. So that's all I've got to say today on page 121. I just want to take a quick look at the Aliens of Charted Space. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave some comments. Let me know what you thought. And I'll see you next time on page 121.